Yup. Peace of the gods. Welcome back to Chance and Opportunity. In this video, I'm going to be telling y'all about the first time that I ever did psilocybin mushrooms, magic mushrooms. And my first trip was not good. I've done it about 3 times, but this first trip was absolutely horrible. And, I want to share the story with y'all and where I went wrong and, how exactly it all happened. So let's get into it. Now, prior to this trip, I had very minimal experience with drugs, with psychedelics, with anything of that nature. I was not into no mind-altering substances. I had done MDMA a couple times. I smoked a lot of weed, but I was not really into psychedelics or into any drugs or anything like that, of anything of that nature. So understand that when I was going into this trip, I was not very experienced and I did not know a lot about what I was doing. I did do a little research prior, but I didn't use my better sense of judgment in the moment and kind of just went with what my friend was doing. Now, this trip only consisted of 2 grams of shrooms. I didn't do a lot of shrooms. I didn't do a lot. I was 16 at the time, and I just wanted to, have an experience. So the way that we decided to ingest it was to put it in lemon juice and cranberry juice, which is an acidic juice. And this is supposed to take the psilocybe out of the mushrooms so that when you drink the juice, you can get a more potent hit or more potent experience, right? It's supposed to activate that compound that actually gets you that psychedelic effect. So my friend at the time says, let's put it in the juice, take it out the juice, drink the juice, and then eat the shrooms too. And I was not, personally a big fan of this. I was not looking forward to this. I just, I wanted to have a little bit, have a light experience, feel the drug out, and then, rock out. But I fell for it, and I drank the juice, I ate the shrooms, sat there and waited. And to add fire to the flame, since my friend thinks it's just like weed, he's like, all right, let's go out to this cool little spot that I know. Because we like to tuck off, we like to smoke weed, hit the bong, we like to go to little hidden spots. So he thinks that it'd be cool if we go to this spot. Keep in mind that it's about 8 p.m. and this spot's dark as shit, and it's in the middle of nowhere. So I remember when we pulled up to this spot, about 30 minutes after ingesting the shrooms and the juice, I started seeing figurines and shit in the distance, in the darkness, like big, tall shadows, like demons. I started seeing tall shadows. And he's like, let's get out the car. We looking around, we walking around. And you just see shadows. I just see shadows and demons and tall shit just off in the darkness. And I'm sitting here thinking like, this dude has done no research. I'm thinking this dude does not know and I'm too afraid to say something in this moment, but I'm sitting here like I'm really tripping. Like I'm really fucked up right now. Then after a few minutes, we get back in the car and I'm like, bro, are you good to drive? And he's like, yeah, he's not tripping. He's not feeling it as much as me. And he's like, yo, let's pull back up to the house, right? We pull back up to the house 5-10 minutes later. And then I remember right before about to get out of the car, this shit hit me like a ton of bricks. I look at my hand and I just watched my whole hand melt. My whole right hand just melt. And I was like, it's dark. It's the vibe didn't start right. I took a lot. I felt like I took a lot. I was somewhere, I wasn't at my house, I was in a foreign environment, I was in my friend's house who lived like 4 or 5 hours away from me. So I was definitely not in the ideal situation to do a psychedelic. Moving forward, we get out the car. I remember walking into the house, we walked up the steps, we got into the house, and his mom and his brother and his family's up, right? And it's not that bad at this point. The shrooms are not hitting me like that. It's not that bad, my hand melted, cool, that was the one thing that stuck out. But I sit down on the couch. The room start looking like a big ass, wide ass hallway. Everything look a little bit, morphed. Like the walls are breathing, the couch is breathing, the dog feels super cool. Like the dog feels like super like the fur just feels like it was very like my senses were going off. And in this moment, I didn't know how to exactly respond to this. I didn't know what to do. I just zoned out on the couch. After a few minutes, he started looking at me like, yo, we gotta go in the room. And I remember going into the room and start pacing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I was just tripping out. Like, yo, is everything, like my heart's beating fast. I'm like, what's going on? Da 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 da. Like, I'm I'm looking at the walls, I'm looking around, and my thoughts are racing, everything's going crazy. I kept looking at the time starts racing, everything going by quick as shit, and I ain't know what was going on. I was just in a whole, like, you know, a mosh pit of different thoughts and different shit. I'd be under one emotion, and then under another emotion, and then another thing, and I was under a state of panic. This was my first shroom trip. This was the first time I had ever done shrooms, any psychedelic, and I was not in no home, no comfortable environment. I was with one of my friends who I'd known for a little bit, but, you know, I was at his house. He lived a couple hours away. I hadn't seen him a lot. And then on top of that, I had taken more than I'd wanted to take originally, and I did not go into it with the right vibe. So I continued to pace back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Like, is everything good? I'm asking them, like, is everything good? What's going on? And I'm looking at them. I'm looking at my friend and his brother, because his brother's sober. And I'm looking at him as like, yo, is everything good? Like, what's going on? Because in my sense of direction, in my sense of my sense of life is not, like, I have no idea what's going on. And he's telling me, like, yeah, everything's good, everything's good, everything's good. And I look at the clock again, and it's just like 1 a.m. And I'm like trying to open the door, walk around the house, like, it's the middle of the night, and I'm just tweaking. I'm tweaking, like, I'm bugging out. Like, I don't know what I should do, what's going on. The drug's really affecting me, it's getting to me. And then eventually things start to calm down, everything goes back to normal. You know, this is at like 4 a.m. This is after many hours of me pacing back and forth, like, what's going on, like, you know, I'm alert, like, I'm on 10. I'm looking, like, I'm trying to figure out, like, what's going on. Am I okay? Like, is everything all right? Like, I'm trying to go out for a walk. Like, I don't know. Like, it's the middle of the night in Canada. It was winter. It's cold, and I'm just trying to, like, go do something. I'm like, what's going on? Like, I'm sitting here trying to find something to do. But right, everything eventually calmed down. I took it down, went to sleep, and you know, woke up, and the next day everything was normal. But I also want to add this part to the story. You know, I'm from Toronto, the Toronto area in Canada and Ontario, and this was around July 1st or June 1st, whatever Canada Day is, right? It's one of those days. It's July, I think it's July 1st or 4th or something. I'm not sure. It was around Canada Day, and I remember me and him drove out to Niagara Falls to go meet the dude who was gonna sell us shrooms, right? And this dude had told us that he left the shrooms in his car, in the glove compartment, and we were supposed to just run up into the car, grab the shrooms, drop the money, and dip out and move out. We were supposed to meet him he worked at a restaurant, right? He worked at a restaurant, and we're supposed to pull up to the restaurant, do that, because he's at work. And I remember we went to 3-4 of the same type of restaurant looking for his car, because we couldn't contact him. He's at work, he's doing his work, right? So we're like, we're gonna pull up to the parking lot. We didn't get the exact address. We knew what kind of place what the restaurant name was, and we pulled up to it. And the first one we pulled up to, we couldn't find it. Second one we pulled up to, couldn't find it. Third one we pulled up to, couldn't find it. And then we went all the way back, because we had to walk. We had to walk all the way to these restaurants. We walking from, you know, that whole day was the shroom day. We left out around 10 o'clock, and we didn't find this shit until 4 o'clock, right? The first place that we originally went to, the car was there. So we walked to the second and third restaurant, and until we came back we had to come back all the way back to the first restaurant where it was at. We ain't end up getting until like 4 or 5 o'clock. Now, I did not go into this thinking or having with the best mindset. I did not go into this in the best environment. And if you were to do shrooms, this is not how I would recommend it. I wouldn't recommend to do shrooms. The thing that I learned and the thing that I discovered is that if you're looking for the spiritual connection to the all, to the universe, you have to study yourself, and you have to give yourself what's best for you. Your mind is vibrating at a certain frequency, and you can't keep giving yourself doused down food doused down with mad chemicals, water doused down with mad chemicals, and expect a spiritual awakening. You have to give yourself your natural environment. You have to give yourself the UVB in between the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn. You have to give yourself pure water and pure food. You have to live on the earth. You can't be insulated and disconnected from the earth. If you desire a true spiritual awakening, you have to give yourself what's best. You have to give yourself adequate amounts of sunlight and water and UVB, and you can't just find that spiritual awakening in this plant, in these mushrooms. You have to do the spiritual work. You have to do the mental work if you're looking to awaken consciously. I would recommend, and what's taught by the Most High Chief Babaji, is to take 60 to 90 days in between the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn, in the jungle, isolated, in a tent, eating organically, drinking pure water, consuming pure knowledge. And this is going to be the key to awakening. This is going to be the key to becoming one with God. Because if your avatar, if your body is insulated with misinformation and is programmed with genetically modified information, then you are not going to be able to connect to the true essence of what you are. It is absolutely imperative that you give yourself pure life if you are looking to be in tune with yourself and you're looking to connect to a higher consciousness. So this was my shroom trip report. This was my experience. Comment y'all experiences down below, what y'all thought, how y'all felt, and peace to the gods. I love myself.